here. So as far as canvas size goes, I'm just going to keep it 1,000 by 1,000 here. And we'll just make this real simple here. Okay, so starting off with our shape tool, let's go ahead and get our triangles. And I'm going to grab my triangle here. I'm just going to real quick hold down Shift to keep the triangle to kind of be just sort of hanging out right here. And I'm going to create basically a series of mountains and then some hills and then some trees that'll just be kind of like the different levels of with the same kind of like light dark halfway point here. So what we'll do with this is we'll just grab this, right click on it, convert to path. That way when I Control C, Control V, now I have two of these triangles hanging out here. I can get my shape, my rectangle tool here, and just once again draw this rectangle over half of it and hold down Shift, click with those, and use our little intersect tool here just to create a little darker side. So we can, it's gray right now. That's a good shape for size for a mountain here, and we'll just make it a little bit darker gray, not quite so dark. Here we go. Here's Isabella Jones here. Okay, so we've got that. All right, so we've got, this is our little mountaintop. Let's add a little snowy peak to it. So easy way of doing that is just to get our little pen tool here. We've got two ways of doing this. We can just kind of click over here. We don't have to have it like touching the mountain precisely, but I'll just start outside the mountain. Just make a little zigzag pattern like this, and then maybe this would be totally even, and then just sort of create a shape around it like so. And once again, I'm going to grab my triangle here, Control C, Control V, and then hold down Shift and grab both of these shapes here. So I have my path, which is my little triangle, my base triangle, and then my new path, which is my little zigzag shape here. And once again, I'll choose intersect, and then I'll be hanging out there, and I'll just right click on it and convert to path. So now it's this little shape here, and I'll change it to, say for instance, white, maybe not pure white, maybe just sort of a little dark, a little lighter gray here. Yeah, white for now. Okay, what we'll do is we'll just back up here. Let me just real quick add a rectangle to the background so I know what I'm looking at. I'll change this to blue. Okay, I'll just drag this down to the bottom. There we go. So now we can see what we're looking at here. I'm going to lock this in place so I can select things. All right, so with that done, what I'll do once again is I'll just grab my rectangle. I'll line this up to the halfway point, cover half of it, and then with this piece here, Control C, Control V. So you duplicate that, hold down Shift, grab this rectangle here, and then just once again intersect. And then so I can just grab this and maybe lower this down to a slightly darker gray, like so. So now we have our sort of shadowy side on two things. So you can add more detail to things. Just make sure that your whatever you've got going on reflects that dark light side. So we have all this stuff. Let's make sure everything is converted to a path, just so it's easier to change the fill color. And I'll just select all this stuff. You can select either dragging selecting, or you can just click over here to your layers menu or your layers panel, hold down Shift, and then like click the top and the bottom, and that will collect sort of select everything all at once. I'll right click on this and I'll say group selection. So that way I can just click once, and that way I can hold down the Alt key and just drag this over here, and I'll make myself another mountain. And I can just sort of grab this whole thing and just maybe make it a little bit taller than the other one. I'll go back to this one over here. I'll hold down the Alt key. I'll drag it across. They're both sort of stuck kind of between there. I might even just grab my triangle tool here one more time and create another triangle sort of back here. Doesn't have to be the entire size. And I'll just sort of sneak it back there, maybe right back here. And I'll just drag it down. So this is polygon. I'll drag this down to the base there. And I'll make it just slightly darker than the background. So just make it slightly darker than the background, just to have it sort of like a shadow of a mountain hanging out back there. And that'll be a good little kind of flavor to add. All right, so there we go. Then we got our first little spot here. All right, so we're going to create this little landscape here. The next thing we'll do is a series of little hills. And the hills are going to be sort of, just kind of a more rounded shape. So instead of doing the sort of half and half white, half dark, we'll do two sort of layers of hills. One will be dark in the background, one will be lighter in the foreground here. So we'll start down here. It's like a Bob Ross painting. We'll just start down here with our pen tool, and we'll just create a series of sort of like looping hills here. So you just sort of pull that across, go down here, pull that across, go up, pull it across. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. go down, pull that across, up, pull it across, and then just meet it down here at the bottom of this little triangle shape here. Oh, sure, I'll save to cloud. That's a good idea. Thank you for doing that right in the middle of my path here. We'll call it Flat Design Mountains. Make sure I can just sort of click onto this. There we go. And boom. Now we can just sort of pull this across like so. And what we'll do here is we'll just change this to, say, for instance, green. Or you can keep it white if you like. If you want to have like some snowy hills, that's fine too. But I'll make this green for now. Not quite sort of that neon green, maybe sort of a darker, more primary green, less saturated. There we go. We'll have this be a little bit darker. And I'll take off my border as well. And what I'll do is I'll just grab this thing here, Control C, Control V, right click on it, and I'll just sort of transform this by flipping it horizontally. And that way what I can do is I can kind of sort of maybe drag this down some, and maybe even, well, what I'll do is this. We'll leave it like so, and I'll just sort of drag this down a little bit like so. And that way I can change this to a sort of lighter green, and there it is kind of hanging out there. So it's not quite the same sort of pattern of hills. But it's close. It's close enough. If you wanted to go back in there and you wanted to, say, for instance, use your direct select tool or sub select tool here, and just click on the different anchor points, you can move those around. You could say have some rise above the lows and the highs. You can have this kind of hanging over this way. Maybe this one over here. This one over this way. Whatever you'd like to do. I'll make it a little less. There we go. Cool. Okay, so the last thing we'll add to this is some trees. So let's make our trees here. Once again, I'm going to grab my triangle tool. I'll just hold down Shift, drag the triangle tool. I'll lengthen this out some. I'll choose a different green than the ones I chose before. So I'll make it maybe a little bit more saturated. But I'll just go ahead and sample this, and I'll make it a little more saturated. So I'll pull my thing towards the right-hand side of this. So like that, something that'll at least stick out slightly. I'll just Control C, Control V this, and that means I have two of these triangles hanging out here. I'll get my rectangle tool once again, hover over it, hold down Shift, select that triangle, and intersect. So now I have this little half triangle here. I'll right click on that. My right clicking is not working. If you can't right click, you can just go over here to Modify Path, Convert to Path, and now you have this little path here. And so I'll just darken this up slightly. And then I'll get my rectangle tool here, and I'll just getting real close and just sort of center this between these two triangles here. Change it to, say, brown, which means we'll select over here on our orange, and we'll just kind of work our way down towards the sort of left-hand side of our color picker. And that way what we can do is we'll have our little trunk to our tree. I don't really even have to do any sort of intersecting here for this. I can just copy and paste, Control C, Control V, and then it's just with my move tool here, just drag one side over to the middle, so it'll let you know when you've reached the center, and then you can just darken that up. Right, there you go. And then with these two selected, I'll just Control down. There you go. And so now that's hanging out back there. If you wanted to add more stuff to this, like, say, for instance, like little strokes to add some texture to it, that would be an option there, but probably not all that necessary. Let's grab these, right click on these, make a group selection, or make a group here, and I'll just sort of shrink this down some. And we can just start popping these around by holding down the Alt key and then just dragging them. So just Alt, drag, Alt, drag. You can make some smaller. Alt, drag. You can even tuck some behind the hill here. So one's picking out right there. That's fun. I'll drag, maybe make a big one over this way. That's fine too. I don't like the way that the light side blends in with this this side here, so I might make this a little bit lighter. There we go. That's good. Cool. All right, and now they kind of stand out. I'll tell you what. Let's do one more thing. What we'll do is we'll make a couple of clouds here. So a fun, flat design cloud kind of looks like this. Let's create a rectangle here. And let's go over here to our corners and just sort of pull the corners out as far as we can. So it's a sort of oval shape. It's got flat sides and semicircles on the ends. And let's grab our circle tool, or ellipse tool here, and just hold down the shift key and create a couple of circles. And let's try to avoid any flat shapes, any flat areas here. And we'll just draw a couple of circles that kind of cover the flat areas of our little oval we've got down here. And we can just select all these, right click on them, and we can create compound like that, and then right click on it, convert to path. So the same thing as before, and we can even just make this pure white. Good color for clouds is white. Okay, so with that done, I'll just shrink this down a little bit. And I'll make sure this is on the very, very bottom layer here, right above our rectangle. And I'll just kind of have these hanging out behind our mountains here. Actually, it might not be good. It might be a good idea to have them be a little bit darker gray so they don't blend in with the, or even maybe the same color as, yeah, there we go, darker gray here. That's good. And we'll just, I'll shrink that down some. Right there, right there. Right here. You can even right click on it, transform it, and flip it. That's fun. And there you go. Cool. So here we have a little mountain scene. All right, that's fun. Select everything here, center it inside the artboard, or the page, as it were. And we've got a little flat design mountain scene. So that's fun, pretty painless. Again, this is the cool thing about this stuff is that, you know, we kind of perceive this as a kind of a professional looking, but it definitely has a very clean thing. With not a whole lot of effort, you can create some fun little effects. Okay, we'll go ahead and stop the recording here.